Isn't he in jail? Oops, my bad.
No. His son actually just died.
Okay, I thought something happened. Yeah.
Yeah. That literally just remember Joe Biden even shouted him out.
Oh yeah.
But all right, beauties and gents, we are back. Rise of the Kings podcast, episode 7. Man, we got your boy TJ locking in the building. Your boy Tony Wilson, man. Come on. What you
What's
got for
going
the
on?
people today, TJ?
What you say?
So what you got? What words you got for the people today?
Man, my word is relief. But also urgency. We'll get to it. There's a lot to talk about. Some people aren't relieved, but we still have the same work to do in spite of that. So let's go.
Well, let's say fuck with them people who are not relieved are like, because honestly, we've been literally have been imposed upon for 4 years. So break that down. Why are you feeling relief and urgency right now? Break that down.
I felt like the with the election of Donald Trump in 2016, it was a direct response to the visual of a Black man as the leader of the free world. In spite of Obama's seemingly lack of specific African American attention with his plans and issues, there's probably a chance that because of McConnell's day one admittance to Joe Biden, that he was going to veto everything that he did. I remember Obama talking about the frustration of having to reach across the aisle because he knew that on top of them not being willing to work with him because he was a blue man, but he was also a Black man. And so he was Black and blue, but blue lives matter.
Context, right? Depending on the context, blue lives matter.
Yeah, man. I just don't. It was this. I remember the angst I felt on election night. It was to the point where I had an HR meeting because of something I said on Facebook. I said that I'm coming for you. You've been warned, and they thought I was threatening them, but all I wanted them to understand was their angst with me being a Black man and them voting for someone who devalues my existence. And it's not to say that Hillary Clinton has not been guilty of that in times past. It's not what you say, it's how you said it. But what you said was important too. And so there was a lot of voices that were not galvanized the same way they were galvanized for Barack Hussein Obama in 2009, 8, 9. It was different. You saw an educated, brilliant, exceptional Black man with just as, if not more exceptional of a Black wife with Black children who were just normal kids. Some people even compared them to the Huxtables, and they could not take that. He didn't have dreads. He smoked a little weed, but who doesn't? Seriously, who doesn't? It's one thing when Lil Wayne, God bless him, and Young Thug or Stoners and all that, but when Seth Rogen does it, when Pete Davidson does it, it's cool. But
it's almost even the same way of now weed is legal, right? But how many brothers, especially in Louisiana, you know how this is with the 3-strike law, how many brothers are in jail for life terms because they got caught with some weed, but now this shit is legal and it's like the topic of conversation. I do CBD, or I got this new strain, or I'm investing into a dispensary. But how many brothers went to jail over that shit?
Right, and how many were demonized for it, and now that it's okay, it's kind of one of those things where people are unwilling to go back in time to accept the wrongs that they committed.
Also,
And
too, like, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I just wish people weren't so. I wish the double standard didn't exist. I wish that folk would stop faking the funk, because that's exactly what's happening. What was good for the goose isn't good for the gander, and I don't know where the hell that came from.
That was fly.
But
That was fly.
I don't know. But I mean, it's just that I'm tired of feeling like, we get the short end of the stick, and then now that times are more peaceful, we just bury the hatchet.
Mm-hmm.
No, you have to also undo the damage that the hatchet did.
Well, it's constantly penalizing black people, black men are constantly penalized. And I'm sorry just to say black men, because black women as well, but they're more socially penalized, right? Every shortcoming that they have, it's because, okay, well, they're a single mother or blah, blah, blah. But you're not even talking about the greatness of what they're like literally accomplishing every day. Like, I'm a product of a single mother. You know what I mean? So like, I know the fucking magic tricks that these motherfuckers pull off every day to make sure I end up in college. One of the first people that graduated college. But even going back on that, man, it's always this demonization. Okay. When we're not even sitting here talking about all the white people who, like, when we talk about let's say, whether it's cocaine or it's weed, we're not talking about all the white people, especially like white mothers who line up to get cocaine from the black dealers, who are hardcore drug users, hardcore alcoholics. We never call them out. We're only calling out and demonizing black men and black women for the choices that they make. Okay. So this brother decided to go sell some weed. He got decided to smoke weed. That should be a sentence for him, versus, I can tell you firsthand, there are a whole lot of white women out here that do cocaine and have kids and have families, et cetera, et cetera.
Crystal methamphetamine.
Come on, man.
That's not something that's a gateway drug for us. It hasn't. Well, I mean, I hope it doesn't get introduced to us, because just like with us, addictions make us suffer worse consequences when it's us. When crack hit, major New York and LA in the 80s, and made it to the countryside, it literally it did everything that it needed to do to fill up the penal system. When we became free, they had to get hold of black bodies somehow for labor.
Mm-hmm.
The penal system, it is.
They had to offset what they had done. They didn't actually want us to be free, and when they realized they couldn't fight that, right? It's the same thing with like Obama winning. Remember, Obama won, and then who came right after Obama? The most racist fucking president that you'd ever meet, or the one who incited the majority of the racism.
Not only that, it's the matter of fact that folk are so willing to turn a blind eye to any and everything that he says, because he's just telling it like it is. But deep down inside, it is a reaffirmation of I can't even. You know what? Let's just say it. Folk do not want to give up the privileges that they have.
Not at all.
Whenever people talk about democracy in 2020, their fear of real democracy is given a hashtag word of socialism. It is the equaling of the field, so to speak. I won't even, Jesus wasn't even a socialist, but he was close to it. And folk crutch him, but then allow him to repeatedly not act as such. Mm-hmm. But because he, like I said, affirms those deep down truths that they hold, and they're so just willing to just go along with it. Yep. It is the biggest effort of cognitive dissonance that I have ever seen.
Yep.
You got Paula White out here slutting herself in a pulpit, praying to God because
Africa, Jesus,
the election is
Africa, Jesus, Africa, Jesus. Bruh, that shit looks so desperate.
I was embarrassed. She started drinking the black preacher Kool-Aid in the late 90s, early 2000s. She was on TV and all. That was me, man. Like growing up, like I used to watch, TV and like the Word Network like clockwork. That was just where I was in life at the time. Paula White was on there all the time, shucking and jiving with the likes of Juanita Bynum and Eddie Long and T.D. Jakes because she sounded like them. But it's a novelty. Like I went to New Orleans Baptist Theological Seminary for about 4 years. 12 to about 17, 18. I still got like a semester half of school before I could just bachelor's. Anyway, I remember when Dr. Fred Luter was, they nominated him as the president of the Southern Baptist Convention. Fred Luter is the pastor of Franklin Avenue Baptist Church. It is a leftover Southern Baptist church that existed in a white flight neighborhood. And then once all the white people moved out, right there in the 8th Ward, right there on Franklin, he became the pastor. And it's one of the largest churches in the actual denomination. Southern Baptist churches or, your little small churches that you see, down the street around the corner, if you're in white people's land. But they did us a favor by making a black man the president. And I remember every time I watched him, they always had some type of black chorale that I always had to sing with. That wasn't normally singing at any other time during chapel unless he was there.
Mm-hmm.
And he's a true to type black Baptist preacher. When he gets a little excited, he gets revved up and he gets going and he gets going, then he gets going. Organ goes and it's over. It's a novelty to them. So when Paula White does it, they can have their cake and eat it too.
Yep.
When Marie Antoinette let them eat cake, she was talking to the peasants. She was talking about us. And I just hate to see our culture bastardized in such a way. And she doesn't even know how much she's been gotten herself because she's doing all this slaving for a misogynist of a man.
Yeah. You
doing all of this, and he really doesn't give a damn about you. He wants to grab you by the two.
It makes me, man, I think like maybe it's my naivete. Maybe it's me.
Are you really naive though? I don't.
No, but let me follow me. Let me work here. Maybe it's my naivete, or maybe it's just me expecting too much. The type of behavior and choices that white women have made, especially with President Trump, really baffles me because, when you think about when the Me Too movement really started, it was really hardcore, like pioneered by white women, right? But then a lot of that stuff is like, when I see the people who are condoning the behaviors that are going on, it's white women condoning the behaviors. 53% of white women voted for that man in that first election. Okay?
When you had a white woman on the ticket.
And then you also still see all these white women who are championing this. So the conspiracy theorist in me is like, is this like a plan? Is this like another like white women pushing rape narratives on black men or men of color? That's what gets me thinking. Because there's no way that these two fucking things don't add up. Now, I know there may be women from two different factions, or two different ideologies, but it still don't make no damn sense that we have all this terrorism from white men, and there's this strong ass group of white women that back it.
Trauma.
Okay. Rock with it.
That is the word for it. Stockholm syndrome.
Okay.
When you're so used to being subjected to that, you have no choice but to defend it because you don't know how to stand up for yourself, to be honest.
I respect
Wow.
That's a good way of bringing some humanization to it. Because for me, like I'm literally looking at it like
I'm
black and
I'm
white. Like
not
it
trying to
don't add up.
justify. I'm not trying to justify it. I'm just trying to give a visual of it. I just, but still, the Me Too movement was about freedom, not for bondage. And it's like you're reverting right back to what you knew. Like, why? Like it's. I mean, what were we talking about the other day? This abortion amendment in this state, and all that. There's already, I don't know, but it's saying that it's okay for a guy, because he wants me and thinks I'm hot, to put a pill in my drink that he buys me, so that I'm a little loopy, and that I sleep with him and I don't remember it. But because he wants it that bad, it justifies all of that. And if I get pregnant by this jerk, I have to carry this baby, because guess what? I think it was okay to outlaw abortion and all that. It gets rid of the opportunity of choice for all the weird scenarios that we know happen. How many people called out Harvey Weinstein? How many?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, it's crazy. Like, white men didn't want to support the suffrage movement. Everybody was chattel to them, their wives and their slaves. They were all chattel property.
Yeah. So I respect you saying that, because it's giving it more. Your take is adding the humanity to it, like instead of mine kind of being the emotional response to it. You're because that is how it is, man. Like you think about it, even when, bro, like you've been in this position before, probably where you've been in a room or in a work situation with a bunch of black people, and then everybody's fighting and trying to cut each other at the limbs to impress the white supervisor. Right. So it's like that's our trauma. So I think you're making a good point there, where I think there's some trauma there. There is some. I mean, I wouldn't go as far. I don't know enough about Stockholm syndrome to say what it is.
I'll do it. I'll do it one better. Look at the stage when Kamala and Joe's families came out. The diversity of those families. Kamala Harris is half Jamaican and half South Indian.
Right.
She's got beautiful blood in her family. Kamala Harris, on top of being an accomplished attorney, senator, Howard graduate, aka all that, that's a beautiful 50-plus-year-old woman. And some people can't take that. But despite that, I just hate to see that now, how inclusive, even like your grassroots levels of one party looks over the other. That is America. At least that's the America that they preach to us is. And the reason for Donald Trump is because some people felt segmented out of that, because instead of all the attention being on them, they had to share it with everybody else.